Hi, my name's James. I'm one of the team mechanics for British Triathlon. Today we're going to show you how to pack a bike into a bike box. We've got a hard shell plastic bike box for this one. There are different types of boxes, but this is kind of the majority of boxes now are like this. You can still get padded boxes, which are also still really good, especially the modern ones where they've got plastic Kevlar sheets and they're really protective. And you can get larger plastic boxes where you have to take less off. So they're called easy fit boxes. On those you can keep your bars and your bars and straight on, and most times the time trial bars can stay on as well if it's a time trial bike. But today we're going to go on a standard road bike into a fairly standard box and just show you through how it goes. So top tip is to have the tools that you're going to travel with. So everything you use, keep it together and make sure you travel with those tools. So at the other end, you know you've got everything you need. So first thing, we'll take the pedals off. Then the wheels off, make sure it's in the lowest gear. I always put these back in just to minimise the risk of leaving them. So if you put your through axles back in, you know you've got them. So different chains of thought on whether you take mechs off or leave them on. My view is always, if you're confident to do it, there's no risk in taking it off. If you're not confident, leave it on, especially in a hard case when it is also protected anyway and strapped down. The only risk really in a hard case is your other stuff pushing against it. So as long as you pack it well, there's not really a major risk there. In a soft case, I would be wanting to take this off as well. And then if you do so, move that bolt and secure it with bubble wrap in the middle of the frame so it's well protected. But today, hard case, we're going to leave it on. So wheels go in first. So for a through axle bike such as this one, the box will normally come with some quick releases. Sometimes it's just a standard quick release, sometimes the box has a bracket that goes through as well. I always put the discs in, facing in, providing there's a space for the disc to sit within. If there isn't, do it the other way around. So on this one, there's no way that disc can get squashed because that gap is big enough to support the disc. Okay, so that's your wheels in. Now for the frame. So next bit is to drop the stem. So you need to have it so the bars, when twisted, aren't too deep to fit in the box. Your goal is really to make it as simple as possible. So if you can drop it at the stem here, that's a lot better and a lot safer than dropping out at the headset. The risk being the headset comes out, your grease goes everywhere, and you could potentially lose some parts. So wherever possible, drop it at the stem. A good tip is to make a mark, usually underneath, just a little line, just under here, so you know when you're putting it back together, the angle you had it set at. On this bike, that's enough to drop the stem. And then final one is to remove the seat post. You can either make a mark with a pen or use black tape. And then loosen it a little bit. As this bike is Di2, the battery will come out. Just unplug it and then tape that onto the bars. You don't want that to fall in and then you're stuck trying to fish it out. Little piece of tape on there. Make sure your cable's not going anywhere. And that's it, ready to go in. The boxes do vary, but most you can fit in nicely with the gears facing the bottom of the box. So as you can see, this bike does fit in like that. If at this stage you're too big and you have to take the mech off, you can still do it and then just tuck it in between. There are Velcro straps in various positions. Depending on the size of the bike, you might use these, you might not, but get as many in as you can. The seat post has a place to go just here. Don't forget your pedals. You can normally strap them to one of these straps. So if you have to detach the Mech, just wrap it up to protect it. Protect it nicely. And then tape it on so it's not moving around. And that's protected then. At this point, just check your box does close. And nothing here touches the frame. So you can normally just see, there you go, it closes nicely. So now you've got space to pad in things like your wetsuit, helmet, shoes if you want to travel with them in your box, any spares and clothing. Just be careful that when you do close it, it's not going to push and compress on here in any way. So there you go, bike's ready to travel. Put anything else in there that you need, pack it in, make sure it's well packed. One tip is once it's closed, you can either put a lock through these holes or just put zip ties on the buckles, just to ensure that if it's been opened at the airport for any reason, you know it's been opened. And also it doesn't accidentally, if a button gets smashed, it just gives you an extra bit of reinforcement. As I said at the start of the video, do make sure any tool you've used, you keep to one side and pack all of those tools. So at the other end, you've got everything you've taken it apart with, ready to put it back together again. Obviously adding in anything such as your bike lube, Garmin's, computers, etc. as well. So to unpack, it's essentially in reverse. Obviously you'll be in a hotel somewhere, you may not have the stand, so we'll do it as a standalone to make it a little bit easier. But we're going to take it out, have a good look at it, inspect for any damage, and build it back in reverse. So unstrap the frame first. So putting the Mech back on, you just have to be very careful and making sure you align it correctly and not cross thread it. But if you screw it in lightly to start with, and then ensure that this hanger is facing backwards at a 90-degree angle. So not down there, but backwards there. Get the wheels out. So in reverse, I put the wheels on quite early because it just makes it a little bit easier to work on the bike. With the handlebars, if you've made the mark, just realign it and then use the torque wrench to retighten. It should say on your stem what the torque settings are. This one is 5, but just be careful not to over tighten them. Seat post next. You should hear the Di2 come into life when you do that. And again, use the torque wrench. This is 5, so it's the same as the bars on this bike. Just check the gears are working. Pedals on. And give it a good check. Check the wheels are solid, discs are spinning cleanly. Good to go. Make sure you go for a pre-ride and then get ready to race.